And God said, "Let there be
The
light."
Lord says, "Let my people go."
I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
This is the Talkin Bible podcast.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Good Friday. Happy Good Friday to you. As if you're listening to this in real time, it is Good Friday. And Phil and I have just been preparing off air. This is the Talkin Bible podcast with Rohan and Phil and Phil Wearden.
Hi.
And Phil and I have just been talking off air, and we realised that we've kind of conflated our last Friday's episode with this one. Last Friday's episode, it's really not his fault. It's my fault. The Bible reading plan, I've got last Friday's was Jesus before the council. However, the Bible passages I included also include Jesus before Herod and Jesus before Pontius Pilate. So that was a bit of a hassle, which made us think, oh my goodness, we've got nothing to talk about because we've kind of spent a bit of time talking about Jesus before Pilate at last week. So you can go back and listen to that if you've missed that. Go back 5 episodes and listen to that. However, we did find a couple of things that we'll just briefly touch on that are in this narrative around this conversation that Jesus has with Pilate, or more so, not so much that Jesus has with Pilate, because we touched on that last week, but the implications of what happened in Pilate's discourse about Jesus with the crowds and all that sort of stuff. So how about we go down that path on this Good Friday? It's worth discussing. We talk about Barabbas and the crowd's fickleness, and let's do those couple of things, eh?
Yeah. So, looking at sort of I'm going to say outside the building and see what was happening with the just trying to work out like how would it be of a normal practice where the crowds would show up outside Herod's palace.
Yes. So they now think they have this seat. We walked. So it's outside. It's not where you traditionally think that Pilate's palace would be. They now think Pilate was probably living in what is called the Tower of David, which is not the Tower of David. It was where Herod had built a palace, and outside the city walls, they've found a seat which is called. They think could be very likely where. Just outside the palace, where the crowds would have gathered to hear Pontius Pilate. It was the Bema seat, basically, where he would come and pronounce judgment or sit there before the people and so on. So they found that spot. So the crowds, the disciples, originally the Jews did not want this happening. They wanted to get this whole thing done and dusted before the crowds found out it was happening, really, didn't they?
Yeah. And also they sort of at one point said, we shouldn't do it during a religious feast as well.
Yes, that's right. They weren't going to do it because it says we shouldn't do it during the religious feast or the crowds may riot. So they tried to do it under the cover of darkness. They were hoping that they could get the whole thing done and Jesus pinned up on a cross or killed or something prior to the crowds finding out. They'd wake up on the morning and find that it was done. But it's dragged on all night long, this whole process of all these trials. And now it's the early hours of the morning. Still very early in the morning because Jesus goes on the cross at 9 a.m., doesn't he?
Yes.
So we're still talking between sun up and 9 a.m., so maybe 6, 7 in the morning. But somehow word's gotten out that Jesus is there and crowds have gathered. Yeah.
And Pilate parades. I'm just reading here where he Pilate was going backwards and forwards between Jesus inside and the religious leaders, and the crowd were outside.
Yes.
And because of the Jewish customs, the religious leaders wouldn't go anywhere near.
They wouldn't go
Gentile.
Inside the Gentile. They wouldn't go inside the palace. Yep.
So Herod was going backwards and forwards.
Pilate,
sorry.
Pilate.
And Pilate goes outside and he announces this verdict: "You brought this man to me, accusing him of leading a revolt. I've examined him thoroughly on this point in your presence and find him innocent." Herod came back to the same conclusion and sent him back, and nothing this man has done deserves death penalty. So Pilate says, "I will have him flogged," and then released him. But then a mighty roar rose from the crowd. In one voice they shouted, "Kill him! Kill him and release Barabbas."
I often think about the fact that many in this crowd, a few days before, were walking down the Mount of Olives with palm branches, celebrating, singing Hosanna to the Son of David, who blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. How fickle this crowd was.
Yeah. And then a reflection on us is like, could we turn so quickly?
Yep, that's right. When we don't get our expectations, when Jesus doesn't do what we think we want him to do for us, will we turn? Now, we might not turn to the point of saying, crucify him, but we can turn to the point of becoming disillusioned with him or say this is all too hard or this church thing, it's not worth persevering with. It's all too complicated. It's not worth it. And I've seen, sadly, hundreds of people over the years who've given up when all it would have needed was just a better understanding of, hey, Jesus was on a different mission to what you thought he was on.
Yeah.
And if you will not judge him by whether or not he meets your needs that you think are most important, but trust that he has a better agenda. And almost what he has here, he has an agenda to save humanity from sin, not save Israel from Romans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they keep... the crowd continued to shout, crucify him, release Barabbas, who was this murderer who was in jail because it was the time, it was like Pilate trying to appease the Jews by saying, look at me, I'm so kind, I'll release one of your
it was
fellow
this
members.
custom that they would release one on the day of Passover as some kind of goodwill gesture. Yeah, look at me. Yeah. So he says, I'll release him. He uses that custom to try and get Jesus off the hook. And the crowd won't have it.
No.
Yeah. Does it say there? I think it does say that it's kind of like the chief priests and the religious elite that whip the crowd up. Doesn't it say that?
It does.
On one of the gospel versions?
Yes. It does say in one of the versions that, yes, the religious leaders whip him up.
Yeah. So they get the crowd in a frenzy. No, give us Barabbas.
Yeah. Sorry, my brain keeps going back to the movie Life of Brian, and it's like,
Yes.
the crowds calling out names. And
Brian. Yes.
So if you want to laugh and
not be Good Friday. It's Good Friday. Watch the Life of Brian. Maybe try The Chosen, folks. It depends what sort of mood you're in.
Yes.
He's not the Messiah. He's just a really naughty boy.
Yeah. Just don't become too religious.
Yes. Yeah.
The mob shout louder and louder, demanding that Jesus be crucified, and their voices prevailed. So Pilate sentenced Jesus to die as they demanded.
And gave him Barabbas.
Yeah. And at one point, in one of the Gospels, it says that the crowds sort of say, well, Pilate says, I don't take responsibility, and the crowd say, no, we take on responsibility.
Yes, let his blood be on
us.
us and our children. Wow.
Yeah.
So this is a crowd that has been whipped into a frenzy, which we should learn from.
Yeah.
How fickle we can be as humans. We can follow the crowd without doing our research, without thinking things through, without using critical thinking. We can get whipped up by emotion. And emotion's not all bad, but we can't rely on it alone. In this case, they obviously got whipped into this man promised you the earth. I can just imagine the priest going, this man promised he'd save you, but look at him now.
Yeah.
What hope is there? Oh, you should crucify him. And they'd go, we needed him. Yeah. And so they start shouting. So I could see that would be a normal response. I mean, it's human behavior. History's shown it time and time again. I mean, look at some of those footage of Adolf Hitler and how the crowds just were whipped into a frenzy by the charisma and the charm of the man and the convincing attitude, even across 70 years, 80 years of old black and white video. You can still see that and sense that. So that is a human problem that we should be aware of. Just making sure that we don't get whipped into that frenzy by and cults do this, stir people up. Like I would say, as your pastor, if you're part of our church, don't just accept something because Pastor Rohan says it. That is dangerous. Do your research. Study for yourself. Hopefully I'm not telling you leading down a wrong path, but I'm a human being. I've preached stuff in the past that I don't believe anymore. So I'm on a journey just like all of us. But lean in and want to learn. Listen to this podcast and want to learn, but don't just go, Pastor Rohan said it must be true. You'll grow more if you actually avoid being whipped into a frenzy and actually grow yourself. That's what I want as your pastor. That's what I want you to do. I want you to learn and grow for yourself. The whole purpose of this podcast is to help you get tools and listen and go, oh, that's how it works, and then think for yourself about these things. One other thought, and we'll close because it's Good Friday and getting late for us recording. Barabbas. So this man, it says he was a murderer. He was an insurrectionist. So he had obviously been some kind of zealot and had probably terrorist, basically.
Yep.
Had probably, tried to, break into a Roman camp or something, do something, kill a Roman soldier or do something significant as that would be regarded as a terrorist act. And he had been released. But what I like about this story is his name, Barabbas or Barabbas. What does Barabbas mean?
Don't know.
What does bar mean?
Son.
Son. What does Abba?
Father.
Father. So this man, his name is Son of the Father.
Okay.
I find that quite significant, that this is a man, the son of the Father, who missed his cross, and another son of the Father took his place on the cross. You, me, we're sons and daughters of the Father who missed our cross and had another son of the Father take our place on the cross.
Wow.
I don't think that's light to consider. We all deserve a cross, and another son of the Father stepped in for us.
Yep.
We're all Barabbas.
Yeah.
In some way, we're all insurrectionists. We've all rebelled against, not just against Rome, but against God. Against the Father. We deserved the cross, but another one took our place. And on that note,
on Good Friday,
on Good Friday,
that was ordained to be on Good Friday.
That was.
That
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, happy Easter to all our listeners in real time.
Yes.
Thanks for being with us. And thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Do we have anything else scheduled? I don't think you do yet, but
not in the near future.
No, well, I think we're scheduled through to June sometime. So probably the back half of the year at least.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be cramming them in, getting them all done in groups. So thank you for being with us for the last 2 weeks.
It's been fun.
And no worries. Have a good Easter weekend, and we'll talk to you on Easter Monday. See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.